I should have said this at the beginning of the video. This is my full-time job. This is what I do for a living. Welcome to another video. Today it is my 2021 year in review. All the twirls, all the hits, all the misses. Yeah, I made 94 things apparently in 2021 because I do keep a note. I write everything down so that I can do this video. I also film all the twirls and keep all the twirls so that I can watch the things that I've done and made and like give you guys commentary on it. So yeah, 94 things. Obviously less than last year. I made 125 I think last year, but I didn't start sewing until the middle of May because the sewing room was a outbuilding with holes in it and there was no sewing available. We lived with all of the sewing stuff in the dining room for a very long time, which it was just so nice when it all got taken out. And I also for some reason kind of just didn't do anything in basically September at all. I think I made 2 things. So 94 things in 7 months is not bad. Not bad at all. I've also emptied out 5 of these cubby holes from fabric, which is amazing. I've probably emptied out slightly more than that because as you can see there are kind of gaps in the tops of some of these cubby holes and before they were all stuffed solid. So I've probably emptied out maybe 6 or 7 cubby holes, which is amazing because one of my things that I wanted to do this year was sew up my stash and buy less fabric. I have still bought fabric. I've still bought a fairly decent amount of fabric, but nothing like I used to do. So I'm pleased. I am pleased with my use of my stash, which is awesome. So without further ado, let's get into all of the makes. Now the first thing that I've got listed in my notebook is the alphabet colour shape quilt or playmat that I made for Wilson's nieces. I sewed that together and it was relatively quick to sew together. Mum then did the mammoth task of actually quilting it, and if it had been me, I'd have just done in the ditch quilting and then like a design, like an all over design all over it, but Mum went to town and made that thing amazing. So whilst I pieced it, Mum properly actually made that quilt. That was their Christmas present for last year and they thoroughly enjoyed it. That was the first thing that got officially finished in 2021. And now we can start on the twirls. Okay, so the first twirl I have here is the Vogue, now let's get this number right, 8997 in the Bisou cream rayon cotton blend suiting that I got from Lady McElroy via Sherwood's. I love that fabric. I wish I could get more of it. Looking at this twirl and image, I made this actually in January. It was one of the last things, if not the last thing, it was the last thing that I made in the old house, and then we moved and then I couldn't sew anymore. I put on a fair amount of weight between making it and then actually filming the twirl in it. It's tight. It is tight. I haven't tried it on since and I haven't worn it since because I actually made it in the dead of winter to be worn as like a pinafore dress, so with my thin roll necks underneath of it, and then in the summer to be worn as a dress by itself. And I haven't worn it as such because it was so tight as was. I couldn't get anything underneath of it and have it look good, and I haven't tried it on since because I've been too scared to. But as I have mentioned quite frequently, I am following a keto diet now. I've lost a stone officially as of 2 days ago, which is amazing. I do think that if I try this on now, I'd actually be able to wear it the way I wanted to. I was thinking about putting it on today, in fact, to film these videos, but I realised that I'd put like a really tight mock neck on, and with this hair and makeup and having to get changed all the time, I thought, no, that's a bad idea. So I haven't tried it on since, but I do think it would actually fit me now. I love this dress. This is the second one of these that I've made. There is a sew along for this dress. I am totally going to run out of cards for sew alongs, so anything that I can list will be listed in the description down below. But yeah, this is a really, really lovely dress. It's a really simple dress to put together as well. Really, really simple. It's just time consuming because of all the panels that are in the skirt, and this dress is fully lined as well. You don't have to fully line it, but with this particular fabric I did, just to make sure that it wasn't sheer or see-through at any point. Next up we have the Vogue coat that I made from the teal boiled wool that Wilson got me for Christmas from Stitch Fabrics. It is the Vogue 9037 and I absolutely love this coat. However, there was so much ease in the main body of the coat that I made it size 12 rather than the size 14, and the body of it looks amazing but the sleeves are incredibly tight. I cannot wear a cardigan underneath of this coat, which is really unfortunate. I have worn it out once. I mean, I made it in May. It was cold, and the theory was that if I make the coat in May, then the summer will turn up, and it pretty much did, which was great. But it means that I haven't worn this coat until more recently, and as I say, I tried to put it on and the sleeves were really tight, to the point where I don't have enough fabric to recut the sleeves. That was everyone's suggestion. If I had, I would have done. I don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, unpick the underarm seam from just like here, because obviously I've set the sleeve in, so I don't want to disturb that, but I'm going to unpick the underarm seam and I'm going to let it out and sew it with 1/4 inch seam allowance for both the outer and the lining, because I would like to be able to wear that coat. And if I take the seam allowance from 5/8 inch to 1/4 inch, that gives me 3/4 inch extra room, which I think will be more than enough. They're not prohibitively tight. I can get them on, I just can't get them on over cardigans, and it's winter, it's a winter coat, I want to wear it with cardigans, so yeah. Also, that coat, the pattern was unlined, so I added a lining to it with iguanas on the inside, and then I added flat piping around the kind of facing and lining just for an added extra pop of colour, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Really pleased with how that came out, and that was always what I intended to make with that fabric. So thank you, Wilson, for buying it for me. Just need to do a little tweak to it and then I should wear it much more often. Next we have the McCall's 6891. I think that's actually a butterick pattern now. This is made with the Flamingo Habitat cotton lawn from Lady McElroy, and I have fully lined the bodice and the skirt of this dress because that fabric was ever so slightly sheer because of its light background. I made a fabric tie belt for the waist as well, which I do like, but I kind of wish I'd had that fabric. I'd sent it off to Harlequin for them to make a belt from. To be fair, there is enough there that I could send them the sash. Probably would have to unpick it, but I could send them the sash and have them make a belt from that anyway, because I think I would prefer a belt with a buckle on it rather than the tie. I got loads and loads of requests from you guys for a sew along for this pattern, and I will do one next year, I promise. I really love this dress. The fabric was a present from the very lovely Nancy. She sent me a gift voucher for Lamazi Fabrics, and they happened to have this one on sale, so I got 5 meters of this fabric for £50, which was amazing. So thank you, Nancy. I'm really pleased that I finally made it up, because I've had this fabric for a while now, and I think I made it into the perfect thing. I love this shirt dress. Love it, and definitely will be making more, which is why I will be doing a sew along for you guys of how to fully line the bodice of this dress. Also how to put in the collar, because a lot of you guys were messaging me and just were saying that the instructions were confusing. So there will be a sew along coming for this dress, and I do love it. I think it's gorgeous. So yeah, really pleased with this one. I also put pockets in, which is unusual for me in a white fabric like that, but I think they are, because of the lining, I think they get well enough hidden that nobody can notice that there's pockets. The pocket bag doesn't show through. Next up we have the KB Grace bodice, which is something that I had drafted for me 10 years ago? No, 8 years ago now. It was also my first tiered and gathered skirt, which I do like. The fabric is the Hydrangea Story from, I've got my laptop down here, which is why I keep looking down here. Fabric is the Hydrangea Story cotton lawn from Lady McElroy. There is going to be a lot of Lady McElroy fabric in here. I am a Lady McElroy addict, and I am not ashamed. So it's Hydrangea Story. It was a very lovely present from the very lovely Jennifer 1N for my birthday last year, and I'm really pleased that I got this made up. So the Grace bodice, I think I started saying, was something that I had drafted for me when I started my own clothing line, unsuccessful clothing line. I absolutely love the Grace bodice. I've made loads of them. Unfortunately, I'd put on a lot of weight since I'd had it drafted and it no longer fit me. I decided to try and sort of tweak the pattern to my current measurements. This was the first one. I did make a muslin because this was expensive and precious fabric to me, so I did make a muslin. The muslin fit me really well, so I was really pleased with that. So I cut out my Hydrangea Story fabric in the Grace bodice with a waistband and the tiered and gathered skirt. This is the first tiered and gathered skirt I had done. I do like it, but I do prefer a slightly fuller skirt. I mean, I'm wearing the fullest tiered and gathered skirt I've done to date at the moment. I've got, you know, I've got acres of fabric in here, and there is a tutorial coming for this because you guys, as soon as I'd done this one, you guys asked for that, and I'm just realizing now that I did this back in May, and yeah, it's taken me till now to get that done, so thank you for being patient with me. But yeah, absolutely love that dress. Love that dress. It's really, really pretty. I'm very glad that I've made it up. And the fabric was part of my Make 9 as well. In fact, so was the last one. So I'm doing well with my Make 9, as was the coat fabric. I think this was the point of May, was to sew my Make 9 fabrics. The next up we have the Butterick shirt by Gertie, which is the 5895. It comes with a set of pedal pushers as well. I have made this shirt before and really, really liked it, but I had not added enough length to it because it is a cropped shirt. I ended up adding 2.5 inches of length for this to actually sit on my waist, and I absolutely love how it looks. This is the leftovers of the flamingo habitat fabric that I'd made the previous shirt dress with. I'm just so pleased that I managed to get 2 garments out of that fabric. It's gorgeous. Really, 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 really happy with it. Cotton lawn I would definitely recommend over thicker cottons because there is a lot of bulk that goes on at the back of the neckline. This is the same shirt but in the Michael Miller All Over Roses, or yeah, All Over Roses print, and it is a quilting cotton. It does get bulky at the back of the neck, very, very bulky, so that's something that you do need to be aware of. You can get away with it as long as you trim and grade all the seams, but you definitely want to think about the type of fabric you're using to make that shirt. And I know it's out of print, so if you can get your hands on one, I highly recommend, because I love it. And I did wear these quite a lot over the summer with that denim skirt. That denim skirt was one of the best things I've ever made, definitely. The final 5895 is in the Amaryllis print. This is the leftovers from the 8577 that I made last year. The fabric was a gift from Gingerhead & Co. from the lovely Alex and Hedge Hubby. I had enough left over after making that 8577 to do this shirt with, which is great because I've got some of my Liberty Carline in the blue to do something very similar with, because I've made an 8577 out of that. Again, this is a really, really lovely shirt. I like how it looks. I think it's really pretty. I like how it looks with the type of stuff that I wear. This one, I put the buttonholes and buttons where the pattern suggested, and it is a little tight on me. I haven't tried it on since, again, I've lost a little bit of weight, so I think it might actually look a bit better on me now than it does in these twirls. It was one of those things where I was like, I need to go back and move the buttons over. And it's one of those little alteration jobs that I hate doing and just end up getting put off and put off and put off. So I just wore it a couple of times as was, and I think now it actually will fit me a little bit better. This is a really, really lovely shirt, and it's a very kind of, it doesn't take too much fabric, so it's great for the kind of random weird offcuts that I get from the 8577 skirts. Next up we have the start of the cowl neck t-shirts. This is the McCall 6563. This is my wearable muslin. I'd traced this pattern and made this pattern a couple of times before, and I've done it in the size medium, and they were all just dragging across the boobs because, again, I have put weight on, so they weren't fitting correctly. So I went back in and I traced I think I traced a small before, and I'd now traced the medium, and they fit so much better. They take just over 1.1 metre of fabric. I basically, once I had trialled it out with the black and white one, went through my smaller lengths of fabric stash, which is these 4 cubby holes back here. In fact, those 3 cubby holes, this is my quilting stash. I went through and picked out all the fabrics that I could find to make this t-shirt because I just loved it so much. This is a viscose that I got from Sew Over It. I bought 4 meters of it. I made an Eve top out of it, and I ended up with a fairly decent chunk left. So there was enough to make one of these t-shirts, and then you'll see a little bit more of it a little bit later on. Really, really happy with how this turned out. I like it a lot. I do and have worn these t-shirts frequently throughout the warmer months. It's a good job really, because I made a lot of them. Next up we have the Butterick 6380. This time it's a colour blocked dress. I have also slash and spread the sleeves on this one. The sleeves, this pattern was really strange. The bust measurements were huge, and then the sleeves were super tight even at the largest size. I went in and slashed and spread the sleeves to make them into flutter sleeves, which is what I've done with this, and I do think it looks kind of 1930s. I think this is a 1930s 1940s style of dress. I also only had a metre of this fabric, and it wasn't quite enough to make the previous t-shirt, I checked, so I decided to colour block this dress, and I really like how this looks. I saw this on House of Foxy. It's a clothing website, a clothing company. I follow their Instagram. They do a lot of colour block dresses, and they all kind of retro inspired, and I just thought, you know what, I could do that. That would be beautiful, and it looks really good. Again, I had traced this pattern when I was slimmer and I hadn't checked the measurements on this, so looking at the 12s I can see that there is pulling and tightness across the waist of this. I haven't worn this or the next dress that's coming up because of that reason. I really like how they look, like, you know, far away, but the fit on them in these ones was not brilliant. Yeah, so here's the pink one. It's the Sew Over It fabric for the bodice. I didn't have enough to cut out 2 sleeves. I had enough to cut 1 sleeve, so I decided to do a sleeveless one, and I really like it. And then I had this pink fabric in my stash, which I have a little bit left over up there. I put that onto the bottom of this, and again colour blocking it, and I think it looks really, really nice. But again, it is just that little bit tight for me. I remember putting annotations up in the lookbook video just saying, I'm aware that these are too tight, please don't comment on that. I do know, I can see it. Getting lots and lots and lots and lots of lovely messages and support from you guys just saying don't be so hard on yourself, so thank you for that. But it was weird, it was a weird one because, as I say, I traced the pattern out ages ago and was just making it up because I was like, oh yeah, that fits me, and probably should have added a little bit of extra ease in there, but I'm glad that I didn't because they will fit me now. So, you know, clearly I was thinking ahead. But I was really happy with how both of those dresses have come out looks wise, and I will be wearing them next spring, summer for sure. Next up was another experiment. The bottom half of this dress is the is the Vogue 1743. They've changed the number. It was the 9357. They've changed the number. Why do they do that? It's very annoying. I love that dress. I love, love, love that dress. I especially like it because you can get it out of 3 meters of fabric. It works really well for quilting cottons, of which I have quite a lot. I've stopped buying quilting cottons quite so much because since I discovered that Lady McElroy do the kinds of prints that I like on much more appropriate dressmaking fabrics. And when I say appropriate, there is absolutely nothing wrong with making dresses out of quilting cottons. That's how I started. That's the majority of the things that I sewed for years were out of quilting cottons because they were easy to handle and because they had such pretty, pretty prints. I still have some. I do buy 1 or 2 occasionally every now and again. If you enjoy working and sewing with quilting cotton, that's awesome. There's nothing wrong with making garments out of it, as you can see. And I have worn this dress. The reason I love the 1743, the 9357, is because I can get it out of 3 meters of narrow fabric because quilting cottons are narrow, and I think it looks really, really nice. The skirt has enough fullness for me. It's fitted at the waist. I like the high neck because that also shows off the print really well, and there's opportunities for kind of color blocking or playing around with print placements and stripes and things like that. There is a sew along for this dress, so that again will be linked in the description down below. The thing I don't like about that dress is the bodice. I ended up with really pointy darts, and the end of the dart is about 1 inch above the apex, and it's designed that way, and it's weird, and it just, I tried splitting the dart fullness, I tried moving the dart point to point at the apex, underneath the apex. I tried all these different things and I could not get that bodice to look the way that I wanted it to. So I tried this one, which was the Butterick 6244, which I bought primarily for the coat, but the dress underneath is actually very nice as well. However, it's designed for a thick fabric, so it's not as fitted as I would like it to be. The back of this dress, I need to go in and put some darts in at the back neckline because the back neck does gape, and it got a little bit weird around here as well. So whilst I like this dress and wear this dress, the 6244 was not the answer for the high neck fitted bodice that I wanted. I mean, basically I need to draft myself a shell, a block, and then the basic block will be the exact dress that I want because I can then add in the style lines and the yoke and the things like that. So whilst I like this dress and wear this dress, it's still not quite right around here, and it's definitely not right at the back of the neckline. Whilst I was in the middle of this cutting out session, especially when I was cutting out the 6380 dresses, I realised that the skirt on that is really, really lovely. It's a lot slimmer line than I usually go for, but it is lovely and I enjoy wearing it. And I've had this Tealio linen from Hearts Fabrics in Santa Cruz that the very lovely Candy sent me as a gift a couple of years ago. She sent me 2 fabrics. One of them I've made up and the other one was this linen, and I had 1.5 yards of it, and I was like, I'm gonna make shorts, but I don't wear shorts. I don't feel comfortable in shorts. I would have made them, they'd have looked beautiful, and they'd have sat in the wardrobe and done nothing because I would not have worn them. So I was desperately trying to get a skirt out of this 1.5 yards of fabric, and I kept getting my half circle skirt out and trying different ways of folding the fabric to get this half circle skirt onto my 1.5 yards, and just didn't work. And then after making a couple of the 6380s, it was like, oh, use this skirt pattern for, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that before? So I made up the 6380 with a straight waistband on it, and this out of this linen fabric. I fully lined it because the fabric was fairly sheer, and it's gorgeous. Again, I haven't worn this because at the time it was a little bit tight on me, but again, now it fits me perfectly and I will wear it when it comes to spring summer. Other thing that I've made in this twirl is the 6563 t-shirt in white viscose. I need more plain solid coloured tops and skirts in my wardrobe because, as we all know, I'm addicted and drawn to prints, which is great, but when you're making separates, I'm not good at print clashing or print matching, and yeah, I need more separates that are plain fabrics. So I decided to make this 6563 in the white viscose, and I love it and I have worn it a lot. It has been incredibly useful in my wardrobe, so I'm very glad that I did that. Need to make a few more plain tops, woven tops. We've got another 6380 skirt. This is from the cotton rayon blend suiting the Bisou fabric that I made the 8997 dress from at the beginning of this video. I knew I wanted a skirt out of this fabric, and I'd actually bought the original 3 meters thinking that I was going to make probably a half circle skirt a bit longer out of this fabric, and then I watched a lot of Morgan Donna, and she wears dresses like the original one that I showed you at the beginning of the video, and I was just like, ooh yeah, I could do it out of this. And so I bought 2 more meters, so I had 5 meters of this fabric in total, and I managed to get the dress, this skirt and a waistcoat out of it. I really do like this outfit. I do really like the tone on tones. I actually, even when I was filming this, bought down a cream cardigan to put over the top of it to show like a tone on tone on tone kind of thing. It was just way too hot to put it on. I really liked it, but again, when I was doing the twirls and when I watched it back, you could see that it was just ever so slightly too tight across the top of my hips and it was wrinkling. So I actually haven't worn that skirt because it was just like, oh my god, it shows every lump and bump. No, that's going to be awful. Can't do it, which is daft. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to wearing it with my waistcoat next spring summer because I think it's going to look really cool. Next up we have the Butterick 5748, which was part of the So Vintage Fabulous box that the lovely Liz sent me for a review. So this is a press product. This is a Lady McElroy cotton poplin. I absolutely love how this dress has turned out. I've had this pattern in my stash for the very longest time, and when it arrived in the box it was just like, this is a sign that I really need to make this dress, and I really do like how it turned out. I think it's lovely. I like the very full skirt, I like the fitted bodice. It's just a really nice pattern and a really nice dress. The So Vintage Fabulous box was a really lovely experience as well. There is a full review on the whole box which I will link down in the description down below as well for you. Yeah, really happy with this dress. Wore it quite a lot throughout the summer. It was very nice. It was easy to make as well, which was fun. The twirls were long this year. Okay, so this is the Vogue 9345 shirt dress. I think I have that number right. Yes, I do. Wow. Vogue 9345 shirt dress in the Dolce & Gabbana cotton lawn that I got from Selvage and Bolts. I absolutely love this dress. Now, I had been worrying about how all my other dresses were turning out slightly too tight, so I sewed this with a slightly smaller seam allowance, and I think it's come out slightly too big in the bust. Not that you can see that, but I can feel it when I'm wearing it. So I think this is going to be one that I am going to need to take in before I start wearing it again this spring summer coming up. But yeah, it's just, I mean, it's got leaves on it. What more do I need to say? It's got leaves on it. It's absolutely gorgeous. I have fully lined this one because the fabric was very sheer. You can't see it, but I do have a little bit more of that fabric left because we went to see Dibs from Selvage and Bolts before we went to the Festival of Quilts. She had some in stock, and Big Bird bought enough to make Baby Bother a shirt, and then I got the remnants. So I should have enough, just about, to make myself another top from this fabric, which is awesome because I love it. It is absolutely, it's so soft, it's glorious. And the 9345 is a pattern that I love and I have made more of. And I've got one sitting in front of me ready to be sewn up, and there will be more next year as well because I just absolutely love that shirt dress. So yeah, there is a sew along for that as well. Next up we have one of the misses for the year. This is the McCall's 7810 top. In theory I should love this, and this actually was voted for by the Patreon peeps, and I was really excited about it. And then the pattern envelope and the actual garment that they put on the pattern, one looked like an empire line, one looked like a waist seam, and I just got really confused and for some reason just kept putting it off. What I should have done was just get the pattern out and have a look, and it turns out that it is a waist seam. Even though it looks like an empire seam on the lady on the envelope, it probably would be better as an empire line rather than the waistline. This just, it looks messy. It also cemented the fact that I really don't like grown on sleeves when they are that long. I do have, my favourite bodice is the By Hand London Anna bodice, and it has got grown on sleeves, but only short ones. When they're this long, I just end up with too much fabric in this area, but this just did not look good. It was not a good look. So this is going in my misses. I'm glad I tried it. I did actually put the sew along out for it, which surprises me because I really didn't like it. But as I say, it was voted for by the Patreon peeps, and the actual sew along itself did tell you how to nicely construct this top, because some of the methods that they put into the sewing instructions were just like, you want me to fully line it, but then you want to do this? Really? Yeah, it was, yeah, let's just move on. Next. Definitely next. So this is the Simplicity 8445 shirt, which again was voted for by the Patreon peeps. Raf from the Great British Sewing Bee had actually made this in a sheer nylon fabric. And I'd had the pattern in my stash for the longest time. I really love the illustrations on the envelope. I think they're gorgeous. I do think that the top ended up looking like the illustrations. There is giant poofy back to contend with. I ended up sewing down the tucks another 8 inches, I think. And again, I did do a sew along for this particular top. I like how it looks. I just don't love how it looks, and I don't love how it feels on me. So that one has been donated, as has the 7810. It's just, I'm experimenting with tops. I don't have any tried and true top patterns yet. I don't think. You know, I was experimenting, and again, as I say, the Patreon peeps voted for this one. It was an interesting experiment, but at the end of the day, it just wasn't for me, and I won't make it again. Again, grown on sleeves, and slightly longer grown on sleeves than I usually care for, so I think that was part of the issue, but yeah, definitely not for me. Next we have something that was much more successful, and it's the Sew Over It Doris dress. This was a random mystery fabric that I got from the Textile Centre. In fact, it wasn't a mystery fabric, it was a viscose. I ended up with just over 3 meters of it. I think I had 3.2 meters, and I think it was one of the ones that was all they had, was one length, and they sold it as such. And it's really pretty. Now, I've never made the Doris dress before, so it was my wearable muslin, and I didn't think I cared too much about this fabric until I actually started cutting it out, and then it was like, oh my god, this is perfect. What am I doing? Why am I doing wearable muslins with this? But it actually turned out really well. I fully lined that dress because the fabric was basically sheer, so without fully lining it, it would have had to have worn a slip with it continuously. I really like how it's turned out. I do want to make some tweaks to it. The front button-up placket is completely decorative, and I like how it looks, and I want to include it on dresses going forward. But when you have a front that overlaps at the waistline, it's really difficult to finish that waistline neatly and without bulk, without adding, if you add bias binding to it, you can add bulk at the waist, which I don't like. I don't like overlocking the inside of my garments, as you know. So what I want to do, oh, it has a side zip as well, which I hate, even though this one has a side zip. What I want to do is I want to put a centre back zip in, because there is a centre back seam on the skirt, and it would be very easy just to add the centre back seam to the back of the neckline as well. Omit the overlap at the front, and just cut it so that it's on the fold, but then put a faux placket down the front that gets top stitched down, with which the buttons get attached to. That way I'll still get the decorative look of the placket with the buttons at the front, but I will not have to worry about how I finish that at the waistline with the overlap and things if I don't want to fully line the next dress that I make from that pattern, because I will make more of the Doris dress. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love that it is not tightly fitted at the waist as well. There's ties at the back so that you can cinch it so that it does look tightly fitted. You can wear the ties around as a belt if you want to, or you can make it a little bit looser after you've eaten a very large meal, or if it's incredibly hot that day. So yeah, highly recommend the Doris dress. Absolutely love it. Mum loves it too. She's tried that one on. We need to tweak it a little bit for her, and only a tiny little bit. So yeah, it's going to be something that you will see me making again, and there will be me wearing that one next year, and then I will be making more of them. Next up we have the McCaw's 6740. This is a much older pattern. I've had this pattern for a very long time. I had been putting off making this pattern because it needed a full bust adjustment of 3 inches, and I was terrified of that. So I put my big girl pants on this summer and I did my full bust adjustment, made a muslin. Actually was shocked by the fact that it had worked. I used the Cashmerette full bust adjustment tutorial. No reason for me to be shocked at all, because their tutorial's brilliant and of course it would work, but it was like, I did this, wow. I mean, obviously with a lot of help, but I did it. Once I'd made the muslin and checked the fit, I decided that I wanted to make this full dress up in this very see-through and sheer fabric. So this is fully lined as well. The straps on this dress are both meant to cross over at the back, but as we all know, I like to wear a bra. So I have done one normal type strap and then one crossover strap. I then procrastinated hemming this dress for a very long time because I knew I wanted to do a how to level your hem video, and this dress was going to be a perfect candidate for that. So I actually never got to wear this in the hot weather. I finished it just in time for the weather to cool down, but I'm very much looking forward to being able to wear it next year, and I want to make more of these because I love that pattern. I think it's gorgeous. Next up we have a couple of Eve dresses. This is the Lady McElroy Mopsy Fun on the ocean background. It looks like a ditzy floral print, but when you get close they're actually tiny little bunnies, and some of them are hot pink, some of them are emerald green, but the majority are white. I have this print on a spearmint background as well. This was a present from Mum and Dad. No, James and Nia last year. I bought 3 meters of it knowing full well that it was going to be a Eve dress, and I'm really glad that I did make it up into an Eve dress because it's gorgeous. We have another Eve dress. This time it's in the Rifle Paper Company rayon fabric. I got this from fabric.com about 7 years ago, I think. It was the first time I'd ever bought Rifle Paper Company rayon. It was way cheaper buying it from fabric.com, having it shipped over and paying shipping and customs fees rather than buying it in the UK. I bought 4 meters of it. It's very narrow. I always wanted it to be an Eve dress, but because it was so expensive and because up until that point I'd only ever been working with quilting cottons, I was terrified of fluffing it up. So it's been in my stash for the longest time, but I decided that now is the time, so I cut out my Eve dress, and I'm so glad that I did. I love it. I think it's gorgeous. I mean, we all know I love an Eve dress, so yeah, really happy with that one. Next we've got the Vogue 8947. I have made a lot of this dress before, but I did it in a much smaller size and none of them fit anymore. So I went back, retraced, and made a muslin of this new tracing. I don't think I've got it quite right. I think the bodice is still a little bit too big for me. I need to go in and take in the underbust seams on the princess seams for this. I really like the square neckline, which is why I had made this dress. This is a Morning Glory print from Timeless Treasures. It's a quilting cotton. I think it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I put pockets into the skirt and I just really happy with how that one turned out, and I did wear that one a couple of times over the summer months. Now we've got a mashup of the Vogue 9345 upper part of the shirt and then the Butterick 5985. Have I got that right? No. The Butterick 5895 as the tie portion of this shirt. So this is the second one that I've made. There's one coming up which was the wearable muslin, which didn't quite work, but once I'd done that one, I worked out what I wanted to do. I was much happier with the fit, so I went ahead and cut out the shirt from the Hydrangea Story Lawn. This looks great worn over the grace dress with the tiered and gathered skirt if you want a little bit more coverage, because the grace dress is very cleavage-tastic. I appreciate that, but I absolutely love how this shirt turned out, because whilst I very much like the original Gertie shirt with the kind of like grown on wing collar, as I say, it gets quite full at the back, and I really love the Vogue 9345 shirt dress, so I wanted to try and use it as a shirt pattern with varying degrees of success, but this is one of the successful ones and I love how this has turned out. Really happy with this. Next up we have my experiments in trouser and waistcoat making. So this is some denim that I got from minerva.com. I tried 2 pairs of trousers in this, one that you've never seen the light of day, so actually technically I think I've made 95 things. Yeah, one that never saw the light of day because they were truly awful despite making 2 muslins for them. And then these are the Decades of Style high-waisted trousers, which this is the second pair that I made. The first pair's coming up in a minute, and it gave me all the feelings. I am very much happier with these ones. I did wear these ones quite a lot over the sort of summer months, and believe it or not, they're actually too big for me now, which is great. But it does mean that I need to go in and alter them. Battery's dying, 2 secs. And then back. What was the thing? Right. So yes, the trousers at the time, I tried making these trousers last December, and I made up a muslin, and according to the finished garment measurements they should have fit me fine and they wouldn't zip up. So what I did with these ones is I just traced the largest size, sewed it all up except for the side seams, put them on, pinned it, and then kind of just sewed those where I'd pinned, I'd sewed those down. Yeah, I surprisingly ended up liking them. The first pair, the purple needle cord that you'll see coming up in a minute, I absolutely hated and gave me a huge crisis of confidence, huge, and you guys were amazing in the comments on that video again, so thank you for that. I ended up making myself a pair of trousers from denim, which is what I wanted. Ideally I had wanted fly front ones, but I also wanted to try the Decades of Style Empire waist trousers, and I'm really glad that I did. This is when I also realised that when you cut those pattern pieces out, you end up with this really narrow kind of piece of fabric left over that happens to be the perfect size for the 5193 waistcoat, which is why I have quite so many of these waistcoats. I actually really like how this looks. I do think this is very cute. I think I'm going to go back and buy some more of this denim to make a skirt, because I also think that that would be a really cute look. But yeah, I made trousers. I made semi-fitted trousers, and I was moderately happy with how they came out and how they looked on me. The 5193 was a present from Daisy May. It's a 4-piece suit pattern. I probably won't ever make the trousers or skirt from that pattern because the size that it's come with don't fit my hips. They are not the kind of skirt or trousers that I particularly like, but the jacket and the waistcoat are fabulous, and I would like very much to try the jacket as well. But I love the waistcoat. I love the waistcoat, as you'll see, because this is the first of many. These are the purple needle cord trousers, which are the ones that gave me such a crisis of confidence when I initially made them, put them on and saw myself in them. Oh, good grief. I think the needle cord kind of I think some of the kind of like creases and height where the fabric gets height it's kind of like velvet, so it has, you know, the light catches on it differently, and I think some of the ways that I was standing, it was just making it look like I've got camel toe, which I promise I haven't. It is literally just the way that the light's catching on the creases. I promise the crotch depth is deep enough. I've paused it on a image of it, just looks really bad camel toe at the moment. I've not worn these purple ones. I haven't dared try them on again. I am surprised that I actually did make the blue trousers, the denim trousers, after I'd made these, because these just really knocked my confidence for 6. I was not happy. I was not happy at all. Lots of people were saying that I had picked the wrong fabrics for this, that I should have picked a much floatier, lightweight fabric. This is a very lightweight needle cord. It was very drapey. I don't think I would like these trousers on me in a lighter weight fabric. I'm much happier in the denim ones, which is thicker. I think that hides lumps and bumps, but again, that's just me, and again, it could be completely wrong. But yeah, these needle cord trousers, oh yeah, not sure about those. I don't think that they're an utter fail, because they do fit well and they are made well, but I think the reason that they might be a fail is because they just didn't make me feel good. They made me feel very self-conscious and very vulnerable, which is not what you want your clothes to do at all. Whilst I was cutting them out though, I again realised that there was enough fabric down the side to make a waistcoat, and I did. And I love how the waistcoats turned out, and I actually kind of like that outfit together. I think it maybe, I prefer it. What I really need is to make some shirts like the 9345, because that collar looks amazing underneath of that waistcoat, but with some longer sleeves, which I did try later on in the year, and it wasn't quite the success I was hoping for. But the waistcoat I love. I kind of wish I had made a skirt to go with it rather than the trousers. That fabric is still available, so I might go back and, as I say, buy some more to make the skirt with, to match the waistcoat rather than the trousers. And then I think the final waistcoat for now is from the Bisou suiting. As I say, I had 5 meters of that in total. I got a dress, skirt and this waistcoat from it. I really like it. I did make it at a very different time to the skirt, which is why you're not seeing it with the skirt, but I do really like this waistcoat. I think it's lovely. It's a nice shape and it looks great with those shirts, those shirt collars underneath of it. So yeah, very happy with that one. Next we have my first experiment in shirt splicing, and slightly unsuccessful. This is the Vogue 9345 with the Butterick 5895 bottom put on. As you can see, the cutout on this is way too high, way too high for what I was attempting. The hydrangea story shirt was what I was attempting. I used this fabric because it was a inexpensive length that I got from the Textile Centre that I wasn't too precious about, although once I'd seen it on me I was like, oh actually I love this. And I'm a little bit sad that that shirt wasn't quite what I wanted, and it has gone. I have donated it because I just won't wear it like it is with that crop that high. That was part of the reason that I wanted to remake those original shirts, because I just didn't want to show off that area at all. That one has been donated, but it did give me the information I needed to go ahead and make the next thing that you're going to see, which is the same shirt but in a quilting cotton, which I had enough left over after cutting out a dress to make a second wearable muslin. So yeah, once I'd made the blue leopard print viscose iteration, I changed up where the kind of crop and the little cutout was, and I made this floral meadow cotton lawn, no, cotton, quilting cotton wearable muslin. It's come out really well. I really like how it looks, and enough that I was just like, yes, I shall cut into my expensive Lady McElroy fabric. So yeah, very pleased with that. And again, I've worn this a couple of times over the summer when it was really nice and hot. Next up we have the reversible hunter tank from the Rifle Paper Company rayon that I made my Eve dress out of. As I mentioned, I bought 4 meters of it, and usually that would be enough, more than enough, to get like a 6563 t-shirt out of the fabric as well, but it's narrow. It is very narrow. So I managed to squeeze out the outside layer of a hunter tank. The hunter tank's not meant to be lined, it's meant to be an unlined top, but I prefer the finish that I can get from the hunter tank when I fully line it, and I do have a tutorial for how to do that, which I'll link down below. I cut out the outer layer from the Rifle Paper Company viscose, then I used the royal blue viscose that I'd made the 7810 and the bottom half of the first 6380 dress out of as well, and that was the 5 meters of that blue rayon used up. It's a really pretty top. I love the hunter tank. I like the little tie at the waist because it does give me definition at the waist, which is something that I like doing, and I like to highlight my waist. So yeah, very happy with how this one came out. I think it's really pretty, and it is reversible as well, although I probably won't ever wear it with the blue side out because I much prefer print, as you guys know. We have another 6563 t-shirt, this time in the very sheer polka dot rayon that I made the long dress out of. I again had enough fabric left over to get this t-shirt out of that, so I decided to cut one out, because now that I've got this t-shirt to fit me the way that I wanted, it was like, I shall make all of them. I mean, I even got to the point where I went through all of these fabrics and got all of the shorter lengths out, and just whichever fabric it fit on, it was like, I shall make one. Unfortunately, you really do need 1.1 meter. 1 meter is not enough. So I got the polka dot one done, and then I also had enough left of this giant gingham, which is a massive pain in the ass to cut out, especially if you want to pattern match. But I had enough of that, the giant gingham, to cut out one of these tops as well, so I did that because, again, now that I've got it to fit me, I really like how it looks. It's a really easy t-shirt to throw on in the warmer months because it doesn't cling, so yeah, very happy with that one. We have another Vogue 8947 because yeah, one wasn't enough. I really like that square neckline. As I mentioned, I don't think I've got the fit perfect on this bodice. I need to go into those 2 dresses and just tweak the fit a little bit under the bust because it is just a little bit gapey. I did trace a D cup, and I think I should have done the C cup and done a kind of like a little bit of tweaking with that rather than just go for the D cup. But both of these dresses are really nice. They were both very nice to wear in the warmer months because they weren't quite as skin tight as my usual dresses are. So there was that, but yeah, I really like this fabric. Again, it's another quilting cotton. I got it from the local fabric store on the island whilst it was still open. They closed a couple of years ago due to retirement, which is really sad, but yeah, I found that fabric in there and absolutely loved it, so I bought 5 meters, which is why I got the dress and a shirt out of it. Next up we have another wearable muslin. This fabric is from the Textile Centre. I still have a little bit of it left back there. I've made 2 wearable muslins from it now. It was one of those fabrics which it was just like, I like it, but I'm not so precious about it that if I fluff up what I'm making with it, I'm going to be upset. This is the True Bias Shelby dress, and it looks like I tried to pattern match across the front. I didn't. That's one of the reasons that I don't like how this dress turned out. I also put the buttonholes in completely in the wrong orientation. I was just not paying attention. I'd gotten through making the entire thing. It's French seamed, it's really nicely finished on the inside, but yeah, I didn't pay attention and put the buttonholes in incorrectly. So whilst there is plenty of room and it fits me, it doesn't look great because it looks like it's all gaping at the front. So yeah, it did give me a toile of the Shelby, which is a dress that I really, really like and would have been wonderful to have in the super hot months that we had, because again, it has those little ties at the back which allow you to cinch it in without it being super, super tight. So I do like the Shelby. I will be making more of the Shelby. I have some Artistic Vibrance viscose from Lady McElroy that was bought specifically to make the Shelby, but that was £15 a metre fabric, and the fabric with the faux patchwork fabric was £3.50 a metre. So that was my wearable muslin fodder, and I'm glad that I did that because there are a few tweaks that I want to make to that pattern, but I am very happy with how it came out, and there will be more Shelbys next year. So I perfected the fit of the Grace dress on my new larger size, which just meant that I was going to make a million of them because I love that bodice. I really, really love that bodice. Yes, it's cleavage-tastic, but in the summer months it's also really, really fun to wear, although I have worn it in the sun so much that I have specific tan lines from those straps. I did this with another tiered and gathered skirt. This time I went for a slightly larger width of tier on the top tier, and I'm much happier with how this one came out. This is a Calf Facet brassica print in the purple brownie colourway, and I think that if I put the correct stuff over the top of that, it's totally an autumn winter appropriate kind of print as well. So if I put one of my jumpers over the top with like a thermal t-shirt underneath as well, I definitely could wear this as a skirt in the autumn winter months, and I might test that theory, although I don't want to take too much stuff to London with me because I've got to carry it all, as well as the cat and Christmas presents, so maybe I won't test that theory quite yet. But yeah, I really, really love this dress. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I'm really sorry, but the KB Grace dress bodice pattern is not available. The Kim dress from By Hand London is very, very similar. This was another experiment. This is the Vogue 9296 pattern. I absolutely love the line drawings on the envelope of this, and I was just like, yes, I immediately need to try this. I really, really do. So whilst I love the line drawings, I was not 100% sure that I was actually going to like this dress on me, so I wanted to give it a try in an inexpensive fabric, hence the blue leopard print rayon that I got from the Textile Centre. I do like how this looks. It is an incredibly cleavage-tastic dress. I actually had to ladder stitch the front closed so it was even halfway decent. It does fit my boobs, but it was just this plunge came right down to underneath the bra, so it was just like, no, I need to be able to wear a bra with this. And I have to wear a speciality bra that like hooks up at the back with a J hook because it's bare shouldered. I like this. I haven't worn it yet because I was going to wear it out for a date with Wilson, and then we just haven't been out for dates because of, you know, life as what's going on in the world at the moment. I do really like how this looks. I don't think I will make more of them though. I don't think it, because to me it's a very going out dress, and I like my dresses to be something that I can wear during the day, and this is very, very definitely an evening going out dress in my head. So yeah, I like it. I don't think I'm going to make more of it. So as I mentioned, I put some weight on, and my very favourite bodice, the Anna bodice, no longer fit me, the size that I traced. So I decided to retrace the pattern because, as I say, it's one of my favourites. I think I've made like 35 of the bodices now, majority of which are currently stashed away in storage because they don't fit me. So I retraced and redid the bust adjustment. I actually fully lengthened this one because my previous Annas I've always put on a waistband to kind of get the length of the bodice that I liked. With this one I have omitted the waistband. I really like how this turned out. This was absolute nightmare to cut out the giant viscose gingham because the gingham did not want to stay on grain at all, and I wanted the pattern to match down the centre front. I cut out a full circle skirt. It was supposed to be this Pinterest dress that I'd found. This was the inspiration. The Pinterest dress actually has a gathered rectangular skirt, which would have been so much easier to do, but I really like how the full circle skirt looks on the gingham. I don't mind that it's all over the place. I like that. And I also needed some fodder for my how to level a hem video. So yeah, this was a nightmare to cut out and a nightmare to sew, but I really like how it looks and I have worn it a couple of times. This next one is the Butterick 5915. I've done a sew along for this dress. I like this dress a lot. The red dress for the sew along I had actually put in too short a zip, and I like it enough that I'd gone in and bought a longer zip and taken it all apart to put the longer zip in. When I was buying those longer zips, I bought a kind of greeny tealy one that happened to just match this fabric perfectly. This fabric was from Lamazi. I bought 2.5 meters of it because that's all they had left. I wish I'd bought, or it turns out that they actually did have 3 meters left and they ended up with a remnant. I wish I'd bought the remnant because I've lined this in white viscose, which you can just about see when you turn to the side. I love how this dress looks. I think it's gorgeous. It's a very different shape for me because it's not quite so full in the skirt, but I think it's really pretty. I wear it a lot. There will be more of those. Very happy with that one and how that turned out. Next we have the Simplicity 8013, which I don't like. In fact, I'm going to put it on my fails. Yeah, I don't like this dress. I thought I was going to love it. I absolutely love the version on the envelope, but on me it was just too much of everything. There was too much gathering in the skirt, there was too much floof in the bodice. I love the sleeves. I do love the sleeves. But yeah, so this fabric was from the Textile Centre. It was a £3 per metre chiffon and I bought 10 metres of it. It was always intended to be this dress. It was wearable muslin fodder for this dress because the very lovely Alexandra has sent me 10 metres of a beautiful viscose from Spotlight to recreate this Pinterest dress. The minute I looked at this Pinterest dress, it immediately made me think of this pattern. Having looked at the Pinterest dress again, it makes me think far more of the Deer and Doe Magnolia pattern, which is the next one that I'm going to try because I still have that 10 meters of fabric from Alexandra ready to be made into the dress of dreams, which I thought this was going to be, but it's not. And so much so that I didn't finish it. It looks fairly finished. There's no buttons on the cuffs, which is why the sleeves are sitting a little funnily on me. I also didn't hem it, and I didn't finish the back seam edges. They're all raw, and loads of people were telling me that I should finish it and then gift it, gift it to somebody or give it to the charity shop. There was just so much work in it and I knew that I hated it, so that it was just never going to happen. Thankfully, Big Bird came for September. She saw it, she really liked the fabric, and she's taken the whole lot off my hands. She's taken the pattern, the tracing and the dress and all the spare fabric that I had, and she is going to try and make something from it, which is awesome because I really don't want to just throw things away, and I would have used it as dog bed stuffing in all honesty. There was no way that I was going to spend the amount of time to finish it that needed it to then be able to donate it, and I couldn't donate it as was because obviously it wasn't finished. But yeah, Big Bird's taken it off my hands, which is brilliant. Very happy that she did that, and I'm really happy that I used inexpensive fabric to test a theory and was proved wrong. So yeah, that one was not for me. Just not for me. So I'm going to try the Deer and Doe Magnolia next to try and make that Pinterest dress of dreams from my Spotlight viscose that Alexandra sent me. Next up we have another experiment. This is a beautiful kind of like abstract, slightly organic geometric viscose that I got from Lanzarote, and I've made an Eve dress out of it. And I had a really weird, strange sort of shaped piece left. I had colour blocked so many of the 6380s that I decided I wanted to try a different bodice. This is the Butterick 6130. I've done a sew along for that bodice, but as a jumpsuit, and this is the second time that I've made this bodice up, and I just don't like it on me, and it's just not for me. The jumpsuit, I thought it was the proportions that I'd done because I had listened to the pattern and I'd altered it and added length in the midriff pattern, which I don't think suits me. I think I need to add the length in the bodice, which I've done on this red one. I just don't like it. I want to like it, but I just don't like it. The skirt on this dress is from the 9077, and I really do like that skirt shape, but again, I just don't like this red dress as is, and it's been donated. It's gone. It's just no. The fabric as well was from the fabric room, and I bought 5 meters of it. It's viscose Marrakein, and it came with some very strange stains on it that I had to cut around, and I ended up with 2 stains on this, on the one of the panels of the skirt at the back that aren't too bad, but I know they're there. So yeah, that was just It's just a no. Next up we have a much more successful dress, which is again the KB Grace dress with a tiered and gathered skirt on it. This is a cotton lawn from Lady McElroy. They gifted it to me at the Festival of Quilts. It was their latest print. It's called Bright Side of Life, and they just gave me 3 meters of the black colourway and the white colourway and said we'd love to see what you could do with this. When I had finally got my Grace bodice fitting me, this was immediately what sprung to mind. It was a very sort of Dolce & Gabbana-esque dress. I absolutely love how this turned out. I did wear it out to the seafront when James and Nia were down in September. We sat out and had lunch at one of the pubs along the seafront, walked down the seafront. Big Bird took a video and some stills images of me, and that was when I kind of sort of really saw just how big I had gotten. I've posted one of those videos, but I've kind of put a lot of filters over it and made it look very cartoony, but it was one of those times where it was just like, is that what I look like in real life? Wow. And again, this is my own personal self-image and body image, and there is nothing wrong with anyone else looking the way that they do. This is all me thinking about me, but this dress kind of made me think like, oh yeah, I need to do something about this. So yeah, that was really when I started talking to Wilson about keto, and again, it's just been brilliant. It's really worked for me, and again, it's not going to work for everybody, I know that, but yeah, this dress, whilst I love it, it also has some really kind of like weird memories attached to it. I haven't tried it on obviously because we're in winter now and I don't know if it would still fit me. I do have enough of the fabric that I can tweak the fit if I need to remake the bodice. I like this dress, but it just gives me all the feelings is basically what I'm trying to get at. So it's a really pretty dress. I will probably remake the bodice for next year because I think I'm gonna have to, but yeah, I made this in a day and I wore it up to London, and I wore it out for the first time that we were allowed to go out for dinner together, me and Wilson, because of lockdowns and stuff like that. So yeah, this got kind of like happy and kind of bittersweet memories attached to this dress, but I will at the very least turn it into a skirt next year, if not remake the bodice, because it is gorgeous. I also love how big the skirt I could get with just 3 meters of fabric, so yeah, that's really pleased me as well. Next up is a dress that I absolutely love but never got to wear this summer because it is slightly too snug on me, and it's the Vogue 9345 shirt dress, again in the pinstripe fabric with goldfish all over it. It's a rayon from Teal that I got from fabric.com. So my Dolce & Gabbana dress, like I say, because I put on some weight, I had erred on the side of caution and made it too big, and then with this one I didn't want to do that, so I made it the size that I'd done previously, and it is too snug around the waist in these images, hence the reason I have a belt on over the top. I also saved this one for one of my hem leveling experiments, which is another reason that I didn't actually wear this one out during last spring summer, well, last summer autumn, because I made this in August. I did make this one in August, although as I say, I didn't end up hemming it until probably September. I really like this dress. I haven't worn it out as yet. I am hoping that it will fit me much better next spring summer, we shall see. But this fabric was so precious to me, and the lovely Julian, when I was mentioning it in one of my fabric hauls, said that it looked very Carolina Herrera-esque and would look great as a shirt dress. And Julian, you are right, it does look awesome as a shirt dress, so I'm very glad that I made it into a shirt dress, and I have enough left over to make a shirt out of it as well, which is great, because you can't get any more of it. Hiding a multitude of sins with the belts. Next up we have a pair of jogging bottoms that initially I absolutely hated when I'd finished them. I was just like, oh gosh, what have I done? These are awful. These are the 7634 jogging bottoms. I have done a sew along for these ones as well. I've made them before, so I just decided that I wanted some more because the 2 pairs that I have are worn to death. They are so bobbled, so pilled. This is a really light soft French terry that I got from Girl Charlie while they were still active. I think it was slightly too light a weight fabric for the bias binding stripe that I put down the side. I'd always put bias binding down the side because that's what the pattern called for, so it was one of those ones where it was like, yes, I just do the thing. I made it during a hangout with the Peeps and I tried them on and I could barely get them over my butt, like really struggled to get in and out of them. And then when I got them on, because they were so lightweight and the bias binding, it was slightly too heavy for it, I was just like, oh gosh, this is what have I done? This is not good. This is not good. I absolutely hated them. So I wasn't even going to show you guys them. I was just going to put them aside and that was it. But I hemmed them because I thought, well, you know what, that's all that needs doing and they can be donated and somebody will get some use out of them. Tried them on again once I'd hemmed them and I was like, actually, these aren't too bad. These are not too bad. So I've kept them and I've actually ended up wearing them loads, which is great. So yeah, it was something that I thought was a total fail is actually, you know, pretty good in the end, which is fabulous. So yeah, very happy with those. Next up we have the McCall's 8145 sweatshirt. This was voted for by the Patreon peeps. I ended up making a size 6. There were 7.5 inches of wearing ease, or I mean it has to be wearing ease because it's not design ease from the pattern envelope around the waist of this pattern, and it was when it really started ranting about patterns being misleading. This was also a slightly different sew along, so I did the whole thing in one go with chapters, so the review, the sew along, and then the roundup and all that kind of stuff in one video, which you guys seem to really like. I love how this has ended up looking, but I had to do quite a lot to it to get it to look like the envelope. And as I say, I've made a size 6 at the waist, and that's for a 23-inch waist, which I do not have. This is when my proper ranting about patterns envelopes started. So I'm glad that I made it. The Patreon peeps voted for it. This was a wearable muslin. I was going to make this out of a cable knit that I got from Higgs and Higgs, but the front ends up getting really bulky with all the layers, so I'm glad that I didn't. I'm glad that I did it in this Ponte, which was from the fabric room. I really like this, and it ended up matching the jogging bottoms really well. The bias binding colour that the peeps picked in the hangout works really well with the jumper, so it's kind of like a jogging set without, you know, like an unintentional jogging set. So I'm very pleased that I did get that one done, and I like how it's turned out, but it took a lot of work to get it to look like the envelope, which I don't think you should have to put in that much effort and work to get it to look like the envelope. I think it should be a lot easier than they're making it. Next up is the McCall's 7319. Have I got that right? I have got that right. So the 7319, I did a sew along for this dress because this is the 6th iteration of this dress that I have done, and this is the final one that I'm really happy with. This is another one where I think the pattern envelope is incredibly misleading, and I had a big rant about it in the sew along for this one. When I bought the pattern envelope, I bought it because of the little navy blue dress that's at the bottom of the illustration. The skirt on that is really full, and I think I now have a dress that looks like that illustration. I had to go through a lot of iterations to get to that point because the only skirt piece that gets included with that dress pattern is the one that the model is wearing, and the one that the model is wearing is not the same as the illustrations. Now thankfully they've done the illustrations, because if they hadn't have put the illustrations on, I wouldn't have bought this pattern, because I don't like that straight up and down skirt. It's not for me. It's not, again, I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying it's not for me. So I did a sew along of how I slashed and spread the skirt to make it fit me, and then also pick the size. This is another one where I've ended up doing the size 6 at the waist, because the amount of ease that they had put into a jersey dress was ridiculous. It's no. No. But again, I've done a sew along and a pattern review of that pattern, which will be linked in the description down below. I love how this dress has turned out. I have worn this a lot. I've actually left this one up in London, and I am very much looking forward to being able to wear it when I go up again on Friday. It's a really fun dress. Really fun dress. It is fabric hungry. So this was the Savannah collection that I was doing. So I have got the butterscotch coloured Adrian tee with added cuffs. I added long cuffs onto the end of the t-shirt. I really like the Adrian t-shirt. I ended up lowering the front neckline by 1 inch, which I think actually is better on me, but again, that's personal preference. And then I added the cuffs on because whilst I love the kind of bishop piratey sleeves with the elasticated elasticated wrist, I know I wanted to wear these when it was going to be cooler and I wanted my full arm to be covered, so I added on the long cuffs to this one, and I really like how it turned out, so much so that I have made a couple of them, and there will be more. I've also got on the raw silk waistcoat that I made from the New Look pattern 6013 with the collar. I really like this waistcoat. I decided to use this one because this fabric was never going to take a buttonhole, so I wouldn't have been able to do the 5193 that you've seen previously. This one has a fur hook and eye on the join point at the waist, and I really like how that looks. It's a really fun waistcoat and I definitely will be making more of them. I actually like it so much that I think I'm going to go back and trace the sleeves for the jacket pattern as well, because I think it would look really nice as a jacket. The fabric was from Stitch Fabrics, and as I say, it was called a summer weight silk. Kind of looks like Hessian, but it's very soft. It's not like super soft, but it's much softer than Hessian looks, but it looks like Hessian. It's really open weave. So I had 3 meters of it and I decided to make a 3-panel circle skirt as well, and then try and cut out the waistcoat as well. I had just enough to cut out the waistcoat and I ended up having to do the undercollar in cotton lawn, but that's worked really well because it ended up quite bulky around the front. I love this outfit with the Adrian T, the skirt and the waistcoat. I think it looks really nice. I definitely want to make some more sort of bishopy sleeve shirts to wear underneath of that. I think it's lovely. We're in the final stretch now. This is a long video, sorry. Next up we have what was an experiment and not quite a successful experiment. It's the Vogue 9345 dress bodice elongated into a shirt. Now I love how it looks underneath the waistcoat, and I love it tucked in, but the bottom edge of the shirt I had literally just drawn down and then kind of widened the bottom edges, just randomly trying to make this dress bodice work as a shirt. I think I can get there, but this was not successful. I needed to make it a little bit longer and I need to make it a little bit wider to fit over my hips. As I say, if I wear this tucked in, it's totally fine, but if I want to wear it untucked, it doesn't look good. To be fair, I'm never really going to want to wear it untucked, but I would like it to fit me, so I need to go back and do some work on that one. But I love the sleeves and I love the collar on that shirt dress, which is why I am persevering with it so much, because I haven't seen a shirt with those sleeves and that collar on it so that I can make the shirt from a pattern that's already done. So that's why I'm persevering with that one so much. But yeah, this was not quite as successful as I was hoping it was going to be, but it's successful enough that I'm going to keep it and I will wear it. Next we have my pleated and gathered skirt from the embroidered cotton that I got from Bombay Stores at the Festival of Quilts. Again, this is a wildly inappropriate skirt to have made at this time of year, completely the wrong kind of fabric base, but I was in the middle of this collection and I just thought if I don't do it, it's going to end up stuck in there and I just won't end up doing it ever. So you know what, let's just get it done. I love how this looks. I actually kind of think it looks okay with the shirt. They're not quite the right colours together. It probably wouldn't be the combination that I would do, but I do really love the pleated and gathered skirt. There is a tutorial for that if you would like to make your own. I will list it down in the comments below. But yeah, it was one of those ones where it's just like, this is not going to take me long, let's just get this done, and I'm really glad that I did. Next up we have the Vogue 9345, but this time in skirt form. So I had this fabric from Lady McElroy via Sherwood's. It is called Grey Slake and it is a wool blend suiting fabric. It's beautiful, it's really soft, it has a sheen to it, it has a nice drape to it. It shows every lump and bump and every single tiny little crease in it. I mean, it's a natural fibre, so of course it does, but it's just one of those ones where it's like, I've pressed this and pressed this and pressed this and it still looks dishevelled. Whilst I really like it, I don't know that I'm ever going to wear it because it looks so dishevelled, which is really sad because I just love the fabric. The fabric is gorgeous, but it's just, it doesn't look crisp, it doesn't look polished, and I think if it had been a print I would get away with it more because prints hide a multitude of sins. I think that's another reason I don't make as many plain fabrics or plain garments, because they, you know, I can't hide anything in there. I do like this skirt, I do like it a lot, and the other thing is you can really see where the shirt's tucked in and how ill-fitting the shirt is underneath. So I'm thinking maybe if I try it with a different top underneath, then I might feel differently about it. But yeah, I don't like that one as much as I should like that one, and I don't know how long it's going to survive in my wardrobe. Somebody else can have the pressing problem of it, I'm thinking. And I had 3 meters of it, so again I had enough to cut out a waistcoat, so it's the 5193 waistcoat again. Theoretically I love this look with the shirt underneath of it. I know they're not perfectly matching colours, but I kind of like how they look together. The 5193 is just ever so slightly too high for the collar. You have to properly put the collar underneath of that waistcoat, but with the sleeves, oh my goodness, I love it with the sleeves. But again, that waistcoat just doesn't look crisp, and I'm not sure what I could have done to it to make it look better, but it's just not quite right. When I first made it, for some reason the back lining ended up way too long for the outer fabric, so the back hem looked awful. So I went in and completely took that apart and fixed it. I think it looks way better than it did, but still I'm just not 100% sure about that outfit, which is sad because I really want to like it, but I don't think it's quite right. I don't know what I could have made with that fabric that would look right, because I think it's the fabric itself, which is sad because it's such a beautiful, I mean, even to the point where I would love to make some trousers out of it to go with the waistcoat, because I think that would be an awesome outfit, but I don't think I'm ever going to buy it because I don't think I can do the maintenance of it to make it look as good as I think it should. I don't know, let me know in the comments down below what you think. I'm just not sure about those two items. Next up we have a whole bunch of t-shirts that I went through. So this is the Sew Over It cowl neck t-shirt in a coral viscose jersey that I got from Minerva.com ages ago. They don't have any more of it, I'm sorry. I am wearing it here with the Vogue 9357, which is the 1743 now, I think I have that number right, with giant pockets, and I managed to squeeze that skirt out of the remnants of fabric I had after cutting out my Sorrento jacket, which you'll see in a second. I absolutely love that skirt. I've worn it loads. I really like this t-shirt. This fabric's almost neon. It's beautiful. It goes really well with the green, I think. I know not everybody would pair those together, but I really like it together. I am really pleased that I did manage to get that skirt out of my little remnants of the denim as well. So yeah, very much like those two items. The denim itself is from Lady McElroy again, no surprise there. They do still have some more of it. It's called Cedar. The colour Cedar is Kossel denim, I think they're calling it. It's got some stretch in it. It's really comfortable to wear and it's very nice to work with. I don't know what I did to it, but when I washed it I ended up with these white marbled lines all over it, and I do think it was my fault. I think it is the fabric softener I used. I don't think I tried washing it a couple of times and the marble effect was just there, but actually I kind of like how it looks now. To begin with, I was just like, oh no, I've ruined this fabric. It's $10.90 a meter. That's just so annoying, but I actually really like how it looks. And as I say, from 3 meters I got this skirt and the Sorrento jacket, which you'll see in a second. So this is the Sorrento jacket. It's the first Sorrento jacket I made. I went straight in with I didn't make a muslin because the very lovely Rachel let me try on her Sorrento jacket when we met up at the Festival of Quilts. She did a straight size 10. She'd lengthened the arms by 1.25 inches and she'd done the bodice length as is. Rachel's 2 inches taller than me. She's 5'10", I'm 5'8". So I actually cropped my Sorrento jacket by 1 inch and I love how it's turned out. So much so that I made another one, but you'll see that in a second. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how the Sorrento came out, and I think I'm going to make one more in another fabric next year. But yeah, very pleased with how that came out. Next up we have the By Hand London Anna bodice, but elongated into a top. I follow Bianca from The Closet Historian and she makes a lot of this sort of shape of top with the button back, and I knew that wasn't going to work for me because I really don't like button back tops. I don't like wearing them because they're uncomfortable to lean against, and also I find them really difficult to get into and out of. So in the summer, with the patchwork fabric, that one that I made the True Bias Shelby out of, I did a muslin for the By Hand London Anna top with the bottom from the darts and the tucks at the waist elongated by 2 inches. It worked really well, except I couldn't get the zip in. And then I came up with the idea that you put the zip in upside down, and it was like clearly a hive mind thing, because there was a couple of you guys that suggested it in the comments as well, and it was like, yeah, that's a brilliant idea. So I put the zip in upside down so it zips closed downwards, and that works brilliantly because it means that I can get it on, the neckline's big enough that I can get it over my head. That means that also I don't have to worry about trying to make it big enough to go over my boobs at the bottom with the zip being anchored at the bottom. So it's really good. I've worn this one out and I like it, but I need to make it another 2 inches longer because this one just untucks itself from the skirt the minute you wear it. This is the Woodland Harmony viscose, again from Lady McElroy, and I made the 9077 out of that fabric, and I had just enough to cut out this By Hand London Anna top. If I had made this top longer, I wouldn't have had enough fabric to do it, so I'm glad that I have made this one. I basically stopped sewing the tucks and the darts at the waistline, and then they give little pleats underneath and flare out from there, which is great. But it does mean that, as I say, this one kind of like unfurls itself, untucks itself, because when you move there's just not enough fabric to keep it tucked in. But it's got like a little frill, a little peplum, so it's actually kind of cute. But I will, when I make this one again, because there's going to be loads of these tops now that I've got it fitting, there's going to be loads and loads, I will make it 2 inches longer so that they will stay tucked in. But I'm very happy with this one. We have my second Sorrento jacket, and one of the things I did with the Sorrento jacket is I fully lined it, and you guys seemed really interested in that because it's not part of the pattern, so you asked for a lining tutorial. I decided I had bought some very expensive £20 a metre wool coating from Lady McElroy. It's called Ocean. I was going to make the Zimmerman-esque cape with a McCall's pattern. I can't remember the number of the McCall's pattern off the top of my head. One of my best performing videos, when bad things happen to good fabric. Oh yeah, that needs to go on my epic fail, although I don't really have any footage of it because it offended me so bad. It looked like a Jedi cape. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. I came back the next day and decided to cut it apart for the Sorrento jacket, and the reason I thought of the Sorrento jacket is because all the pieces are very, very small, and I'd already cut this cape out and I'd already put in the welts for the belt, so I knew that I needed small pattern pieces to be able to get away with it, and it worked perfectly. The only thing I had to cut out from the, not from the cape, but from the like excess fabric that I had left over, was the waistband, because it was a long continuous piece. The rest of it, including the sleeves, I managed to get out of the cape fabric, which was brilliant. I love, 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 love how this has turned out. I did do a video of how to fully line your Sorrento jacket, which again will be linked down below, when I was making this one up. And yeah, it's really cute. It's surprisingly warm. I wore it to London the last time I went, which was November. It was surprisingly warm. It was nice. I won't take it with me next time because it's now too cold to wear it, but yeah, I was surprised by how toasty warm I was in this jacket. But love it, absolutely love it, and I'm so glad that I rescued the really expensive wool. If I'd have known beforehand, I would not have made this jacket out of wool because I would have done like a tailored coat out of it, but I'm really glad that I managed to rescue the wool and turn it into something that I love. It was really fun filming all these videos because everything went together, so yeah, it was quite fun filming all of this, but it's in no order of making because I just put it in colour order on the rail and then just went through in colour order. So yeah, zero kind of cohesion in makes, but I like how it looks. Next up we have the Gable t-shirt in the same coral viscose from Minerva.com. I always buy 2 meters of those viscoses, and I can usually get a long sleeved and a short sleeve top out of them, so I've got the coral one. Next up we have the Gable t-shirt in the kind of mustard butterscotch colour, which I'd made the Adrian blouse out of, so I was really pleased that I could get the 3/4 length sleeve Gable t-shirt out of the remainder of that butterscotch fabric because it is really, really pretty. We have another new to me top. This is the drape top, or they've now called it the batwing top, from DP Studios. Teresa got me this for my pattern swap last Christmas. I've made it in this red viscose from Minerva.com. This took 2 meters of it. I don't think I've got the sizing on this one quite right. I did the sizing according to the pattern, but I think I should go down quite a few sizes. When I first made it, the sleeves were incredibly baggy, and I have made them probably too tight on the forearms on this one, to be honest, and I think I could make the waist a little bit tighter so it sits a little bit better. I do think there is a lot of fabric in the underarm area, but I love how the back looks. I want to go back and retrace this pattern in the smaller size, give it another try, because I do really like it. I am going to wear this one because it is a really nice top. I just think I can tweak it to make it better. So it's a good t-shirt, but it's not a perfect t-shirt yet. So this is the Grasser 810 pattern, and it's an Isabel Marant copy. Seeing it again on me on the 12s is kind of interesting because I do like how it looks. However, this fabric was wearable muslin fodder, and it's unbelievably itchy, unbelievably itchy. So this was always a wearable muslin to test. Well, not even wearable, this was just a muslin to test what the actual jumper looked like. The original one didn't have the waistband on it and was much longer, and it just looked bad on me. It didn't look good. The shoulders are in the right place on this, I promise, because lots of people were saying to me it's too big. This is how it's designed to look. The shoulder doodads are meant to come from the point of the shoulder. They're not meant to be in any further. I just think I look like a linebacker in this. It looks amazing on other people. I just don't think it's for me. I think you can tell in my face and the twirls that I'm just a bit like, no. No, but I'm glad that I tried it. I am glad that I tried it. Next up we have another win. This is the Adrian blouse in the Savannah Viscose crepe jersey. I absolutely love this. I had 5 meters of this fabric. Is that right? Yes. Yes, I had 5 meters of this fabric, and I got the 7319 dress, a Renfrew t-shirt, and I thought I'd cut out the Adrian blouse as well. Hadn't made an Adrian blouse for ages and remembered only after I'd done it that the sleeves needed to be cut on the fold. So instead of cutting the 2 sleeves that I thought I had, I'd cut 1 sleeve with a seam in it. So I ordered more fabric. I ordered another 50 centimeters of fabric, which was just enough to get the sleeves of this t-shirt out of it. They are in fact probably a little bit smaller than they should be, but I really like how it looks, and I'm so glad I ordered that extra fabric. The extra fabric actually is a slightly different colorway to the main body of the t-shirt, and I think I get away with it. I don't think you notice it until I point it out, but it is slightly brighter than the main body of the t-shirt. I don't care. I love it. I think it's a gorgeous print, and I think it's a gorgeous t-shirt, so I'm very happy that I've got that one. I also, as I mentioned, cut out a Renfrew t-shirt from the Savannah Viscose jersey, and yeah, again, 3/4 length sleeves, v-neck, love it. I haven't made any of the other necklines of the Renfrew t-shirt, and I really ought to, because I do like the cowl neck and I do like the rounded neck, but I think the v-neck is my favourite, and I'm really pleased that I managed to get 2 t-shirts out of the remnants from the dress, because the dress, as I say, is a fabric hungry beast. We have another new to me t-shirt. This is the named Paola turtleneck t-shirt in, again, a green viscose jersey from Minerva.com. I'm really sorry that they don't list it anymore. It was one of those ones that they always said it was out of stock and they couldn't get more of it, but then suddenly like a bolt would turn up. It was in 125 colours, and I bought a lot. I think I bought 40 colours of it in total, which I'm really pleased that I did, because I really like all these plain t-shirts, and they're very versatile, but they are very dull to make. It's pretty basic and simple. It was very easy to put together. I really like it. There will be more of these out of my remaining kind of like viscose jerseys that I have in the different colours, because it is a very useful piece to have to be worn under other dresses to add layers for warmth. But yeah, very pleased with this one. This is the 7537, which I'm wearing here as well, with the ruffle, which I've got on here, and with a tiered and gathered skirt. So I was meant to be doing a tutorial with this particular dress, but I fluffed up putting the tiers in, how I French seam them together, so I didn't want to do that, which meant that I had to make this dress, which I'm really pleased about because I love this dress too. This is also going to be on the top 5. It's very Zimmerman-esque, very Gunny Sacks, very sort of 70s, very sort of pirate, just right up my alley. Highly recommend the 7537 pattern. I really like it. I know some of the reviews out there aren't such big fans. It is very cleavage-tastic. I put the rouleau loop on and the eyelets on to actually hide how cleavage-tastic it is. I think without those it would be indecent, but I really like the rouleau loops with the eyelets, so you know, it works for me. And the 7537 sleeves I adore, and I smoosh them onto lots of things, as you guys have seen and will be seeing more of. I love this dress. So pleased with this dress. Next up we have the McCall's 6563 t-shirt in the Savannah Viscose Chalet and the 5-panel circle skirt. Now these are both remakes. I had the Savannah crepe, Lena crepe fabric, which is a polyester fabric, and I made a mini capsule wardrobe to take on holiday with me to Lanzarote in 2018, I think it was. None of it fit. It was all too small. It was all patterns that I had made before, but I just put on that much weight, and I didn't, because I was making patterns that I had made many times before, I didn't try anything on as I was making it. I just finished everything. The skirt didn't fit and the top kind of fit, but it was dragging, there were drag lines across the front there. When Lady McElroy finally released this print on Viscose Lawn, which happened this year, I bought 33 meters of it. Rachel had some, Judy had some, Mum had some, and I've got about 8 meters left. But I made a lot of things, and I remade some things. So this is the 5-panel circle skirt. Again, there's a tutorial for that in the description. The 6563 is actually quite fabric hungry if it's a directional print, which this one is. So if you look closely, you can see that the hummingbirds on the back of my dress are actually flying upside down, because I decided that it was more important to conserve fabric than to have them the right way up. So I nested my pattern pieces. That was a personal choice. It's completely up to you if you decide to do that or not, but I think the print is busy enough that if I hadn't really pointed it out, then nobody would notice. And again, it's on my back, so I can't see it, so it's fine. I love how these two pieces look together. It looks like a dress. I love the fact that I have the versatility to wear them as separates, and they go with so many other things, especially in this collection that you're kind of seeing at the moment. I'm just really pleased. really pleased that I've got them remade and that they finally fit me and that I can wear these things, because I've had them hanging in my wardrobe for the longest time, taunting me. So very, very pleased to have made up exactly the same thing twice, but now that they fit me is awesome. When I was cutting out my 5-panel circle skirt, as I mentioned, this print is directional, and I was very careful with the print in the skirt to make sure that all the birds were going the right way up. That's why I do a 5-panel circle skirt, because with directional prints it means that you can maintain the correct angle of your birds or your flowers or something, your directional print, for the majority of the skirt. So I was cutting it out and I ended up with some really strangely shaped pieces, which happened perfectly to fit the hunter tank pattern pieces, because the hunter tank is cut on the bias. So my kind of like weird triangular shapes that I got left over when I was cutting out my circle skirt pieces meant that I could cut out the hunter tank from the extra pieces, which was a completely unexpected make. I didn't think I was going to be making a hunter tank from this fabric, but if I hadn't have used the hunter tank pieces on those random size pieces that I had left, I would have either ended up making bias binding with it or hair ties or things like that. So yeah, I'm really pleased that it occurred to me that the hunter tank would be the perfect thing to fit into those weird random shapes. That's the other thing, I have made a lot of hair scrunchies this year. I think around about 50 hair scrunchies as well, but I'm not counting those as a make because, you know, they don't take very long, and the scrunchie pattern that I use will be listed in the description down below as well. Next up we have another not so great make. It's the McCall's 8003. I think I have that number right. So yeah, this is the McCall's 8003. I thought I was going to love this. I really thought I was going to love this, and that's why I've used this fabric, because I love this fabric. This fabric colour is another, again, viscose jersey from Minerva.com. I can't get any more of this colour. I knew when I was tracing it out, the fact that they just wanted me to turn and turn again the edge of the neckline, the curved neckline, and then the straight neckline that goes across for the cutout. When they said turn it and turn it again, I knew I wasn't going to like it. Majority of times when I see that in a pattern, I take the seam allowance off, I draft a band that is slightly smaller so that you have to stretch it to make it fit, and then that makes it hug the body. And I didn't do it, and I should have listened to myself, and I wish I had, because I think I would have liked that t-shirt more if I had done that thing on it, and I don't. I also think I would like it more if I had put the higher mock neck on rather than the tiny little neckband that I put on. I'm not going to keep that t-shirt. That t-shirt has already been donated, it's gone, and I don't think I will go back and make it again. I think, as much as I think I'm going to like these cutouts, I actually don't, as we'll see with the top, that as we get further through the cutouts, I don't seem to be so much of a fan of as I thought I would be, which surprises me, but yeah, that was a fail. Next up we have another Lady McElroy fabric. This one's called Ritzy, and they do it in 4 colours. I have 3 of them. I have this brown, I have a red, and I have a green. This is a mashup of the Comatia, which is now Studio Calico, boxy hoodie, and the bottom half of the Seamwork Astoria. I bought a metre of each of these glitzy sequined fabrics, not knowing what the hell I was going to do with them. I knew I wanted it to be oversized, I knew I wanted it to be slightly slouchy. I had a few different ideas in mind, but I only had a metre of each of these fabrics and I didn't want to buy more, so I knew it had to be something, even though I wanted it to be slouchy, something not too fabric hungry. It suddenly occurred to me that I really like my other jumpers that I've done with this mashup, these 2 patterns smooshed together, so I thought I'll give it a try. And I gave it a try with the green one, which I still have the shorter sleeve and longer cuff on, but once I'd made the green one I realised I wanted to change the proportions of it, so I've just elongated the sleeve as much as I could for the width of the fabric, and then added on plain jersey cuffs, collar and waistband. I have also fully lined these jumpers because that fabric is scratchy on the inside and you don't want it next to your skin. Ask me how I know. But I'm really happy with how it's turned out. I mean, so much so that once I'd made the first one I was like, yeah, I like this, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to make the other 2 fabrics that I have into copies of this jumper. They are very glitzy, but they're also very comfortable, so it's kind of, again, secret pajamas. It looks like you've made more of an effort than necessarily you have, so that's good. I really like these tops. I have made 3 of them. Very, very happy with it. Next up we have a little mustard cropped jumper with a roll neck on it. This fabric I got from Bombay Stores. It was a grab bag. There were 2 remnants in the grab bag. It's really soft on the outside. It's not quite so soft on the inside, which I always find really weird because the person wearing it wants it to be soft, but yeah. I made the McCall's 7634, but obviously without the lace-up detail up the front. It's just a really basic little sweater. It's really, really comfy to throw on over the jogging bottoms. It goes really well with those colour-wise, so yeah, very happy with that one. Next up we have the Sheridan sweater by Hey June Patterns. I love this. I love, love, love this. This is the faux cable fabric from Higgs & Higgs. I initially bought a metre of it and it's not very wide, and there wasn't enough to do anything with it, so I went back and bought another 1.5 meters, which ended up being slightly too much for this pattern, but I ended up with an infinity scarf that goes with it as well, so that's fine. I made a muslin of the Hey June Sheridan sweater last year to just check the fit on it and check that I liked it, because I knew I wanted to use this expensive fabric to make this jumper. It's gorgeous. It's got the big poofy sleeves, it's got the big poofy body, it's got fittedness at the waist. The only thing that I've changed is I've added a higher neckband to it, because the neckband is really skinny and I don't think I actually could have done the neckband the way that they wanted me to with this fabric because of the thickness of the fabric. So that's the only thing that I've changed, and I prefer the slightly higher mock neck look. And as I mentioned, because I'd ordered extra of this fabric, I ended up with a 40cm full width of the fabric left, so I kind of literally just made it into an infinity scarf, which gives this really chunky look when worn with the jumper, but it's also something that you can wear independently as a scarf with other things, especially from this collection, and it looks really, really good. Next up we have another Renfrew t-shirt, another v-neck 3/4 length sleeve one. I really like how this one turned out. As I mentioned, I really like the Renfrew t-shirt. I've made quite a lot of them now. I've made all of the sleeve lengths now. I just haven't, I need to try the 2 different necklines that I haven't tried yet. I take the bottom, the waistband off of the Renfrew because I always prefer to wear my t-shirts and things tucked in, and I find the bottom band can be quite bulky, but I do like that they have cuffs on the sleeves. I prefer that finish to just turning it under and hemming it, but again, that's a personal preference of mine. Really like the Renfrew t-shirt. Think it is gorgeous and it goes really well with Savannah print, as you can see. And yes, this is the infinity scarf that I made mentioned previously. As you saw it with the jumper, it looks great, but then also worn over the top of like a jacket like this. Probably would wear it with a jumper underneath. If it was cold enough to have the infinity scarf on, I would probably have a jumper on underneath, but yeah, I really like how that outfit looked. Next up we have the Vogue 9077. The Patreon peeps voted for a sew along for this pattern last October, I think it was, and I did actually get one sewn up because there are a lot of changes that I've made to the 9077. A lot. I'd made one before. Whilst I liked it, it was in a polyester fabric and it was short sleeved, so I was never going to wear it in the kind of weather that it was appropriate for, because I ended up feeling way too hot in it. I retraced the pattern, I did all the alterations to it that I wanted to, and I made a wearable muslin last October in a rust coloured viscose, which I loved, and the Patreon peeps voted for the Woodland Harmony fabric to be used for the sew along, and I'm so glad that you did because I absolutely love how it's turned out. It's gorgeous. It's one of my favourite dresses from this year. It is going on the list. I am over the moon with how it turned out. I have filmed the sew along for it, and I have filmed the intros and outros, and it will be coming out in January for you guys. There is one bit that I missed out that I have to refilm, and I'm going to be doing that this afternoon after I've got all this done, because it was supposed to go up in November, and when I was in London I was like, I forgot to do the thing. I'm doing the thing this afternoon so that it can go out in January, but I am so in love with that dress. It's definitely one of my favourites, so thank you very much to the Patreon peeps for voting for that one. Next up we have the first iteration, well, This is the second pair of the 7131 trousers that I've made, but when I made the last ones they weren't deep enough in the crotch, and I remember that I struggled to get them on over my hips even though that they fit my waist. So I went back to the drawing board and retraced that pattern, and then did wearable muslin from this military green, khaki green viscose that I got from the fabric room. The crotch depth on these ones I went too far and it's slightly too deep, but again, because of all the pleating and the fullness in it, you can't really tell. These are very comfortable trousers and I have worn them. I really like how they look with the Savannah print, and I've got them on here with the hunter tank. I think it looks really, really nice. But these were my wearable muslins for the linen chambray that you'll see coming up in a second, and I'm really pleased with how they turned out. We have the bright red Camatia Astoria Studio Calico Astoria mashup, again with the slightly longer sleeves. I love this. I'm taking this up to London with me for Christmas. I am probably going to wear this quite a lot over the next few days because it just literally just screams Christmas in a jumper, doesn't it? And it is really soft on the inside. It's surprisingly warm because of the double layer. I'm just really, really pleased with how it came out. I love that one. And we have the green one as well, which was my initial one. As you can see on this one, the cuffs are actually a lot longer and they come up over my elbows. I don't mind this, you know, it's not ideal, but I don't mind it, and I'm glad that I tried it because it made me realise that I really do like this silhouette, and I did want to make more of this silhouette, so I'm glad that I did. But yeah, I prefer it with the slightly longer sleeves. Not enough that I am going to go back and buy more of this fabric to remake this top, because I can't get any more of the plain green stuff, which is the viscose jersey from Minerva.com, and it's been the same for all of them. I think one green sparkly top in my life is enough, although Rachel has made the Mayfair dress out of the red sparkle of this one, and it's gorgeous. So I might need to make myself a sparkly dress at some point in the future because I really do like this fabric. I think it's on sale as well at the moment, but it will be listed in the description down below if it's still available. After that last sparkly one, we are up to my December sewing. So the first one that I've got to show you is the beach pajamas. Now these got cut out in October, I think, and then just I kept putting them off making them and putting off making them, but I really want to wear these for Christmas Day. These are super, super comfortable, they're adjustable, they are stylish whilst all being all of those previous things, and it does mean that if I eat a giant Christmas dinner, which I fully intend to do, I will be able to adjust the ties at the back to make it slightly more comfortable to accommodate food babies. So yeah, I am really pleased that I finally got these sewn up and I love them. The beach pajamas is an awesome pattern. I have a sew along for that. Again, it will be listed in the description down below. Super, super happy with how this has turned out. Very glad that I finally got it made up. I did use pre-bought bias binding for the finishing on the neckline and the armholes. It's kind of shiny, but I think it adds to like the specialness of it. So yeah, very, very happy with this make. Next up we have my final pair of the 7131. It's not the final pair, I am planning on making more out of this fabric down here, but it's the final pair that, you know, the final form, as it were, the final evolution of them. They now fit me really, really well. I really, really like them. This is the linen chambray base. I really like it for trousers because it's still drapey, as you can see, but there is some movement to it. So these wide leg trousers look brilliant in this fabric, and again, like I say, I have some more of it in the foliage canopy, which is going to end up being those trousers. I love it. I think it's gorgeous. I think it's a really, really nice fit. I really like the elasticated waistline at the back. I like the flatness at the front with the pleats. I like the wide legs. I like the pockets. Love those trousers. Highly, highly recommend that pattern. Next up we have the half circle skirt from the Scuba Crepe fabric. I went through my stash to reorganize into collections. I went through my jerseys particularly because there was quite a few jerseys that I wanted to add in with the wovens. I had 3 scubas in my stash that had just sort of been languishing there for a little while, so I decided that, you know what, scuba is really quick to sew up, let's get them cut up and let's get them done, because scuba is also bulky, which is why I've ended up with some room back here. I made this half circle skirt. This fabric was from Fabric Styles. I bought 2 meters of it because I love the print. 2 meters is not enough for any of the dresses that I love anymore, so it's been in there for the longest time, and I keep doing this like around this time every year. I sew up all my scuba. It's gone through 2 of those where I've just put it back because I didn't have enough to do a dress. It's like, you know what, half circle skirt, and I really like how it looks, so I'm very pleased that that one's done. Next scuba dress is the 9199. This is another pretty standard dress for me. The pattern would have you do a high-low hem. I've evened it out because I prefer that. One of the only times that I prefer an even hem. This is a mystery scuba. I had 2.5 meters of it, which I just managed to squeeze this dress out of, and I'm really pleased that I did. It's lovely and very, very comfortable, and probably will come to London with me. The final scuba dress is the 8972 from Vogue, which is meant to be for a woven, but we have turned it into a pattern that works for a knit, and again there is a sew along for that down in the description. I got this fabric from Cara from So So Mad. She got it from Colville Fabrics and they sent it to her in error. She featured it in one of her fabric hauls and was just like, if anyone wants it, and I was like, yes I do, here's my money, please take my money. And she sent it to me and I love it. It's been in my stash for a couple of years, so I'm really pleased that I finally got it sewn up. And again, scuba is quite bulky, so it does take up quite a lot of room in the stash, so I'm really pleased that it's finally in dress form. Next up is the McCall's 8167. This is a dress that was voted for by the Patreon peeps. I featured it in a Get the Look for Less video as something that you could use to make a dupe for a Peter Pilotto dress, and I do think it's worked quite well. I initially was going to cut it out of one of my really beautiful floral viscoses that I can't get any more of, and I was slightly worried. I got the fear because it's a really, really different silhouette for me. It's very much outside of my comfort zone, and I was just like, if I don't like it, I've wasted this fabric and that could be awful. It's like, oh gosh. So I decided to make it in this crinkle viscose that I got from the fabric room in this beautiful kind of rusty red colour. Unfortunately, they don't have any more of this particular colour, but they do have this fabric in stock, so I'll link it in the description down below if there's still room. I love this dress. I really, really love this dress. I've smooshed on the sleeves from the 7537 because of course I have. I love those sleeves. I wanted this dress to be wearable at this time of year. If I'd have put on the short sleeves that come with the dress, then it wouldn't have been wearable at this time of year. So I put on long sleeves with it. I've also made a belt from the same fabric to cinch it in, because if I don't cinch it in, I won't wear this. I think it looks like a Victorian nightgown. It's just, again, a personal preference. I much prefer to have definition at my waist because that is my smallest point. I like to emphasize that, as I have mentioned many, many times. I'm very pleased with how this one turned out. I've worn it with a couple of different belts and I like all of them, but you guys seem to prefer the fabric belt the most. The fabric belt is long enough that I can tie it at the bow at the front or a bow at the back, but I find bows at the back can be a little bit annoying to lean against. Also, this one is going to be a sew along, which will be coming very soon. The facing around the front, I dislike facings a lot. This facing, I stay stitched the neckline, I understitched the facing, I have tacked it down, and it still wanted to roll out. So I've actually gone through and put some decorative top stitching around the neck edge and then mirrored that in the hem of this skirt. I'm so pleased that I did because it has made a massive, massive difference. I think what I am going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to trace and draft an all-in-one facing for the bodice of this dress that then gets sewn into the armhole seams, in a hope that it, because it puts then tension on it, then it will help it to lie flat. So whilst the sew along for this is coming, it's not going to be coming for a little while because I'm going to need to make another one of these and I'm going to need to make that alteration. So when I'm up in London, I am going to the Goldhawk Road. My fabulous boyfriend bought a house on the Goldhawk Road just for me. Some fabric shops are now literally on my doorstep. So I'm going to go and find hopefully a navy floral viscose kind of fabric so that I can make something very much like the Peter Pilotto dress in the inspiration image, but I'm going to tweak the facing and see what I can do about that, because whilst the decorative stitching works really well, I might not necessarily want to do that on a patterned fabric. I might, but I don't want to have to do that every time. I want to have like a different option. There is a sew along coming for this. It's just going to take me a little while because I need to find some more fabric to make the next one up in and work out what I'm going to do around the neckline. But yeah, without the belt, definitely Victorian nightgown in my opinion on me. Other people, it looks fabulous on me, not so much. We have another top that was voted for by the Patreon peeps. This is the McCall's 7659. This is another one where I thought I was going to love the cutout, and I'm not sure that I do. I like the silhouette of the top, and I'm going to go back in and I'm going to make it with the fully covered up front, which I swore I wouldn't, because I was like, no, I'm not going to like that at all. Never going to make that one, so I didn't even trace it. So I'm going to have to iron all the pattern pieces and trace it again. But I thought I was going to love that one more than I did. Again, the facings are really bugging me. The facings are kind of like splaying out, and I've done all the right things to them, and so I need to go back and have a look at that. So I either need to fully line the front pieces and bag them out, which I think will work, or, as I say, make the actual fully covered up top, which I think I'm going to do both because I'm interested to see how it turns out. And I like the sleeves and I like from the underbust down, so I really want to try and persevere with this top because I think it could be a really versatile piece in my wardrobe, and I'm really trying to find tops that I like, and as you can see, so far this year I've not found many. Next up we have my comparison dress experiment. So this is the 7974, made in the size that the envelope tells me that I should make. And whilst it's not a bad dress, it doesn't look too bad, it's also not a great looking dress on me. I've done an entire video about this which I've still got to edit, so it's going to be interesting to see how that one comes out. But I wanted to do this experiment because I was getting quite a lot of people telling me that I should be making the pattern size that the envelope tells me to. I just thought, no I shouldn't, it's not going to fit, it's not going to look right, and I was going to do it in calico, and then I decided that a fair test would be to make the same dress in the same fabric and see what the two look like. Again, this is not a bad looking dress, it looks okay until you see the next dress, which is the one that I have made the size that I think it should be and how it should fit me. Now this still has ease in it, there's still plenty of wearing ease in this. It's not skin tight. I do like my dresses tight, but with button up dresses you need to have them so that there is some room so that the buttons can button up without pulling. There is still room in this dress, but I think this one looks markedly better on me than the one that the envelope said I should make. So I'm really glad that I did this experiment. As I say, I have filmed the waffle and the footage for it. It's going to be interesting to see how that comes together. Yeah, it was weird making the same dress twice, and it was also weird making a dress that I just knew was not going to fit me the way that I wanted it to. So yeah, it was an interesting experiment and I'm really hopeful about how the video is going to come out. We shall see. I've also made 2 shoulder dragons. They are currently wrapped up, so I can't show you them in person, but here are some photos of them. I made these for Wilson's nieces. One of them is obsessed with Frozen, so that was why the pink and blue one, it looks like Bruni from Frozen 2, the little fire salamander. And then the green one was just because I like green and I had some green corduroy and I thought it would look awesome. The little green one has a really wonky head as well, but I think it gives him some personality. Well, that's what you guys have been telling me and I'm sticking with it. So yeah, I made 2 shoulder dragons this year as well, so I am going to be giving those to the girls on Friday on Christmas Eve, so fingers crossed they like them. I will let you know if they are a success or not. There was meant to be a sew along for that pattern, but there is already a sew along for that pattern and I haven't changed anything, so I'm not going to put the sew along out. But what I am going to do is one of the hangouts in January on a Sunday afternoon, we're going to have a shoulder dragon making session, and I will do a live stream and I shall make another shoulder dragon because I want one for myself, because of course I do. I will live stream it all so you guys can come hang out with me and make your shoulder dragons along with me if you would like to. There's loads of the Peeps have already made them and they are so cute. That's what I'm going to do. So there won't be a sew along for the Simplicity 8715. Have I got that right? Yes, I have. The Simplicity pattern is sometimes available on Amazon, and if it is I'll link it down below, but you can also get the PDF from BZ Arts, who are the pattern creator, directly, so I'll list that down below as well, again if there's room. And then the final thing that I made this year is the dress that I am wearing, and it's one of my favourites. It's another 7537 with a tiered and gathered skirt. As I mentioned, I fluffed up when I was making the Savannah one, and because you guys had asked for a tutorial for the tiered and gathered skirt, I fluffed up putting the French seams in. I wanted to make another one so that I could film the correct way, the way that I wanted to put the skirt together, so I could show you guys in a tutorial. So I had to make this dress and I'm so glad that I did because I love it. It's one of my favorites from the year. I've actually only got 4 favorites. I'm gonna have to have a proper think about number 5. I've got 8 fails and 4 favorites, so yeah, I'm gonna have to like whittle that down a little bit. But yeah, I am so pleased with this dress. I love how it's come out. The skirt on this is epic. It is epically giant and I love it. I love it. I am planning on wearing this on Friday down to London because we are, hopefully restrictions allowing, going to be spending the afternoon with Wilson's family. As long as we're allowed to, I would like to look nice and dressed up for that, and I can add on a cardigan over the top and then a coat and then a scarf, and I'll be, you know, gloves and stuff like that, so I'll be plenty warm enough, but I also want to look fancy. I have to wear it on the way down because when I get there I'm going to have minutes to settle Chiana in and then we're literally leaving pretty much immediately. Fun times. So yes, I think I've made actually 95 things this year. I think I'd mislabeled my list and I also didn't put them in the order that I'd made them. I need to write them down in the order that I finished them, rather than kind of try and remember all the things that I've made. There's one that you haven't seen. In fact, there's two that you haven't seen in this video. One is the 7538 dress. I made it in brown and green and absolutely hated how it came out, so I've butchered it for parts, and it never got filmed for it never got finished. And then the cape. The cape, which you have seen. Yes, like I say, it was one of my most popular videos, when bad things happen to good fabric, but I managed to rescue that. But I didn't film any twirls of the cape as was, because it was just that bad. So it's immortalised in that video, but that's the only place that it is immortalised, and I think that's enough. But yeah, 95 things in total, 3 of which were for the girls, for Wilson's nieces, and then the rest was all for me. There's a lot of selfish sewing, but I don't think, I mean, this is my job. I should have said this at the beginning of the video. This is my full-time job. This is what I do for a living. I maintain this YouTube channel, so I don't have to sew, but I mean, I have all this fabric and I want all these clothes, so I do sew, and I take you guys along on the journey with me for fitting issues or fitting woes, and trying new styles, and making a lot of fit and flare for floral dresses, because as I've mentioned previously, I definitely identified my style that I'm happiest in at the moment, and I very much enjoy making myself variations on that theme. So let me know in the comments section down below which is your favourite. Constructive criticism please on the ones that I am not so keen on, and yeah, I'd be really interested to hear what your sort of like favourite of the year was and your least favourite of the year was. I wonder if it coincides with mine. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you, well done. You deserve definitely more fabric. Well, this is please go forth and buy the fabric. Because if we all need any excuse to buy fabric. But yeah, if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you and well done for that. I hope you've enjoyed a look back at my year. I certainly have. There was definitely some highs and definitely some lows. It's been really fun looking back over the things that I've made and remembering all the things that I've made. I've been prolific this year, very prolific. It's good. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!